It's a fresh week here on WagerTalk Extra. Happy to be with you here. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, and we're here Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, reminding you no matter what sport you're cashing in on, that money is spending all the same, and we have a great week of shows worked up for you this week. As we love to do on Tuesdays, we like to start you on the green with a little PGA chat, and the unofficial official co-host of the show, Andy Lang, going to be joining me here at the top, talk a little golf action. So hey, here we like to get right into the plays, get you actionable info right at the top. So let's welcome in the prop master himself, Andy Lang. And Andy, we'll talk about last weekend, we'll talk about today's tournament, or this week's tournament. Let's get right into it with some players that can trip you up. One of my favorite segments we do here outside of DraftKings Darlings, where I get to see you doing blue steel on the graphic. So let's get right into it here, Andy. Who's tripping us up this weekend?
We had a good week last week on players that can trip you up. Aaron Wise and Denny McCarthy were our players, and they both performed well below expectations, so hopefully that was helpful to everyone. Stacked field this week, and we got two big names that we can focus in on, guys that can trip you up. Matthew Fitzpatrick is the first one. He miscut, 29th miscut in his last three tournaments, very unlike him. This is a guy who won a major last year, so I looked into it. He's got a neck injury. This was a few weeks ago where he said, quote, I hurt my neck last Saturday. It's not 100%. I can still play, but I've not got full speed. And I wanted to know why he was playing this week. And then I read that I forgot he's part of the PIP program. He has to play 16 out of the 17 elevated tournaments this year. This is new for 2023. So he kind of has to play these, and his stats are not good. 45th in total strokes gained in this field, and an alarming minus 0.36 strokes gained in approach. That's a big deal on this very difficult course. So if you're looking at Matthew Fitzpatrick, he's got incredible course history, but he might be dealing with a pretty bad neck injury to where he cannot be 100%. So be careful with Matthew Fitzpatrick this week. And then going right back to Rory McIlroy, Dan, we cashed 7 units fading him 2 weeks ago. I've seen nothing from him that makes me want to bet on him. The first 2 rounds, he hit a couple of long putts and chip ins in the first 2 rounds. And on the weekend, those shots weren't falling, and he was a mess, especially his last round. He was really, really bad. Here we go again. He's a top 3 betting favorite this week. No way I'm betting on him. His putting, he's 81st in putting in this field. That is not going to get it done. The tradition around here is the winners are really good at putting, and it's not looking good for him this year. His course history is good, but last year 11 golfers finished ahead of him. So don't let the course history fool you. He didn't return top 3 value last year. I don't see anything that makes me want to bet on him. He was 29th in his last tournament out, nowhere near returning value. He was outside the top 30 the week before. He's openly said his game is not looking good, yet he's priced way too high. People are going to put him in their lineups and bet on him because of name value, but I'm staying away from him. So Matthew Fitzpatrick and Rory McIlroy, 2 guys that can trip you up this week.
No Rory, no Matty Fitz, according to Andy Lang. That's your players that can trip you up. We're going to get into DraftKings Darlings in just a second here. But Andy, first, how did last weekend go, and how is this tournament shaping up? I believe the Arnold Palmer Invitational, the only invitational that is named after a lemonade and iced tea mixed drink, which also there's apparently a professional golfer that is also named after the same thing. So what are we eyeing for this weekend? And as we just look back before we turn the page on the week, how did last weekend shake out?
Oh, full disclosure, last week was not good. We took losses. It was our first losing tournament of the year. We knew it was going to happen at some point. I wish it could have gone different. DraftKings was perfect. We got every golfer through to the cut. Our players that can trip you up went well, but the bets were just not good. But that's 7 out of 8 winning weeks, and that's my goal. If I can do that the rest of the year, we're going to be really, really happy. Yeah, Arnold Palmer Invitational. Fun fact about Arnold Palmer: he's the first one credited with making money with sponsorships and royalties and outside of the course. He was the first one to do it. He's just an absolute legend, and this tournament is a loaded field this week. You're playing at Bay Hill. It's a difficult course if it's windy, and there are 30-mile-an-hour winds predicted on Friday, a little bit less on Saturday, but don't be surprised if the afternoon guys on Friday have a really, really tough time. So if the conditions are easy, in 2018, the winner was at minus 18. Last year, the winner was minus 5. So if the conditions are tough, this course can be an absolute brute. The course can be firm, and if it's firm, what happens is these long bombers will drive the ball and it'll hit the ground and it'll just stick. So the course will end up playing much longer. They've grown the rough in some areas to about 4 inches, and then they've cut the rough in some areas that leads to water. So you can hit the ball and there's not rough stopping it from going into the water. So very, very tough course. It's a lot of fun to watch because you can see the best in the world get into some trouble. The par threes are probably the most difficult on tour outside of the majors. So really, really good, fun tournament, loaded field, all the big names. I think 19 out of the top 20 in the world are playing this week. So great tournament, a lot of betting opportunities.
Arnold Palmer Invitational, firm and rough. That's the Andy Lang difference on the breakdown there. All right, man, let's get some Draftkings Darlings. As we said, this information has been terrific for folks. And you can also grab the full DFS lineup over at Andy Lang's page on a weekly basis. WT.buzz/AL puts it out free for you folks. But he breaks it down in a little bit more detail here on his Darlings. And who are we eyeing the 3-pack that you have for the folks to save them some money in their DFS lineups this week?
I am stunned that we're taking a look at Zach Johnson, but he has found the fountain of youth or something this year because last couple of years I just thought this guy was done. He was getting older, and all of a sudden he's made the cut in every tournament this year, and he finished 12th last week. It was not a big field with top names, but 12th at a PGA tournament certainly catches my eye. And he just absolutely loves this place. He's made the cut every year since 2012, and he is the only golfer in this field to do so. There's some really good golf trivia. Who's the only golfer to make the cut in every year since 2012 here? Zach Johnson. None of your golf friends are going to know that. So if he makes the cut, Dan, and gets points for us on the weekend, this is a steal at 6,500. So Zach Johnson, first draft king darling. Next up, I'm going to go with Byung-Hoon An at 7,000. He's made the cut every tournament this year, 5 for 5. And, his putting isn't great. That's my worry with Byung-Hoon An, but it hasn't stopped him from making the weekend every tournament this year. So I'm just going to take him at 7,000. He's played here 6 times. He's made the cut every time. So at 7,000, again, if he makes the cut and gets us points on the weekend, it's going to be a good value. And then I'll jump up to Max Homa at 9,700. I feel like 9,700 is really underpriced. I mean, he's finished top 3 in 3 out of his last 4 tournaments. Solid finishes the last 3 years at this course. And he's playing the best golf of his career easily. I think he's a top 5 golfer in the world. Feels like a great price here, Dan. So Zach Johnson, Byung-Hoon An, and Max Homa are my DraftKings darlings this week. And like you mentioned, the article's free. That's up on my profile page. So you can it's a free download. It's got my full lineup. It's got a free bet, players that can trip you up, and it's got a few other stats. So just go download it. It's free, full of helpful information.
Yeah, and one of the best, if not the best, DraftKings or, just DFS information that you can get on a weekly basis. Andy does the deep dive. He's got all the different rankings, and you can get it for free. If you're not downloading that and you're playing DFS here in golf, I don't know what the heck you're doing. Also, if you haven't been riding with Andy Lang on his golf picks, I also don't know what you're doing. As he mentioned last week, a little bit of a snag, but that happens. Anybody who tells you they're going to hit 100% all the time, liar, red flag. They're a Twitter handicapper. Run the other way. 7 out of 8 times that Andy Lang has done it. I did it, Andy. I'm cutting promos here at the top. I'm working up my Ric Flair persona for when we eventually have to dress up like Rick and Charlotte Flair. So you can go check him out. Also follow him on Twitter at Bump Sports. Great follow there. But let's get into the free bet. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. They like it when we just pull back the curtain and say, all right, here's what we're betting, and you should too. You got a play on a potential European play as the top continental European. What are we eyeing?
Yeah, these nationality props were fantastic for us last year and haven't had a really good opportunity to take advantage of one this year, but we have one this week. Jon Rahm, top continental European. Jon Rahm is the unquestioned best golfer on the planet right now. So we're getting him at minus 145, and I feel like it's a gift. His next biggest competition is Viktor Hovland, who's plus 400 in this category. Hovland has no finishes better than 12th this year. I like Hovland as a golfer, but he continues to be priced like an elite golfer, and he's just not. And after that, it's guys like Alex Norton, Thomas Dietrich, Molinari, Sepp Straka. Straka's the only guy that I would say has the ability to come out of nowhere and finish good in a loaded field. The problem is he's missed the cut the last 3 years at this tournament. So 0 for 3 in making the cut. Minus 145 on any bet involving John Rahm is a great price right now. He's going to be matched up against Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy, who I think you can take advantage of. But I love this top continental European. This is under nationality props. I found this on DraftKings, but check your book. Should be available most everywhere. But minus 145 on John Rahm to finish top in a group of golfers of this caliber, I'll take it all day.
Well, and also with how he's been playing too, why the heck not? John Rahm, top continental European at a beautiful price. And Andy, we've been alluding to all the kind of stuff that people can find over at your page, wt.buzz/AL. Depending on when people see this, you have a $2 Tuesday play as you are the featured handicapper over at WagerTalk.com. So they should head to your page to grab that. But what else are they going to find? I know you got UFC loaded. You have your golf stuff loaded for this weekend. And what else can they find over there?
Yeah, golf, UFC may be the best sport that we're running hot in. I mean, we're number one on Wager Talk in 2023. We just hit 2 5% plays in a row, back-to-back weekends, 2-0 sweep for 8 units over last weekend. We got a 5% play up for the card this weekend. So running hot in a lot of sports. NHL props are good. NBA props are good. Soccer and tennis are good. And we're number one all sports the last 365 days. So I'd have to recommend the 5% UFC play and the golf pack as the two things I'm looking most forward to this weekend.
Yeah, and Andy's not kidding. He's also on our leaderboard in NHL profit over the last 30 days. So check him out over at WagerTalk.com. Huge thanks to my man, Andy Lang. And don't worry, he's going to be back tomorrow. You got his thoughts on golf. You'll get his thoughts on UFC because we ask you, make sure you're subscribed here at WagerTalk TV so you never miss any of the great shows just like this. You wouldn't have gotten to hear about the $2 Tuesday play if you weren't subscribed. And you'll join us to talk UFC tomorrow. Nick Borman from SportsMemo going to give his thoughts on the golf slate. And Kevin Dolan, the Irishman, going to shut down tomorrow's show, talking God knows what. He's always coming with rugby and soccer future plays. So we're not sure what Kevin's going to be dropping, but you know it's going to be a doozy when the Irishman joins in. So huge thanks. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, and we will see you locked and loaded with a full slate on tomorrow's edition of Wager Talk Extra.